All right. I think this is our third or fourth video in the Algebra 1 review series for Math 2, just to kind of get you prepped for the rest of Unit 6. This is linear systems of equations, which means two equations, two variables, solving. All right, there's some techniques here. The first one is substitution, and that means this idea when y equals and y equals, you can just literally substitute one equation up into the other one for y. So in other words, 4x minus 9 is going to be equal to the same thing as x minus 3. It's because they're both equal to y. And then I can solve by, let's see, we got some variety. Let's do this. Let's subtract x from both sides. That gives us 3x on the left. And let's add 9 to both sides. That gives us 6 on the right. Therefore, 3 times 2 is 6, so x equals 2. All right, and then we got to sub. That's the point where we got to say, you know what, that 2, if x is 2, what's y? So we're going to sub it up in here into one of the original equations. I'm going to use this one right here because it actually looks pretty easy. So with that said, let's just check it out real quick. Y equals x is 2 minus 3. That means y equals negative 1. And that is our solution to that system. It's the point where the lines intersect when we graph, but when x is 2, y equals negative 1, it makes the equations equal. So that's what its solution means to a system. All right? Let's take a look at our second one here. You can always rewind this. I know I'm going through quickly so that you can rewind it and look at it, but right here, I'm looking at this second piece of equation here, and I'm seeing that I can do the x and the 2x. If I just multiply the top equation by negative 2, that'll give me minus 2x minus 14y and 0. That's because I'm distributing there. So you don't forget to distribute. That everything gets multiplied by negative 2. The x, the 7y, and the 0. So you got to remember to fully distribute that. And then you come down and say, okay, great. Now I'm going to eliminate. So now I'm going to add and subtract here. I'm going to actually use addition. So 2x plus negative 2x, they disappear. They eliminate out. Minus 8y minus 14y is minus 22y. And 22 minus 0 is 22. So therefore, y equals minus 22 times 1. Oh, nope, minus 22 times negative 1. Almost missed my negative. I got y. How do I get x? I got to substitute. I'm going to pick the easiest equation. X plus 7y equals 0. And I'm going to go and I'm going to sub in my negative 1 for my y. So x plus, well, it's negative 1 times 7. So it's actually x minus 7 equals 0. So therefore, x equals 7. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my solution to that equation. All right, so that is linear combination. You may have to multiply one of the equations by a number. It could be by a fraction. You could think of it as division, but there's a lot of different ways to do these. I'm trying to take the just easiest path to a solution without trying to make the thing do. I don't want to create fractions. I don't want to create negative numbers. I don't want to create anything that is hard to work with. The goal is to make it easy on yourself. So looking over here at my next one. Well, I could multiply the whole equation by 7. But that wouldn't be making it easy because I'm going to get 21 times 7. That's going to be a huge number to work with. It's really going to be kind of a messy situation. So it's much better to multiply by just negative 1. Here's why. I do that, I get 7x plus 2y equals negative 19 on the top. And on the bottom, I'm multiplying by negative 1, so I'm getting x. I'm getting minus 2y. And then if I multiply by negative 1, I'm getting minus 21. So then when I add them together, I get 7x plus x. I'm going to combine this equation. So I'm going to get 8x equals 2y minus 2y. Goodbye. They cancel each other. And minus 19 minus 21 is going to give me minus 40. Therefore, x equals 5. Actually, negative 5, because 8 times negative 5 would give me minus 40. And now, to find y, I got to go back and do the whole sub thing again. That means if I use the negative 5, so if I go over here with this equation, I'm going to use, in this case, I'm going to use the second equation. I'm going to sub in there. So if I use minus negative 5, that's the same as positive 5, plus 2y equals 21. Well, I subtract 5 from both sides, I get 2y equals 16. Therefore, y equals 8. All right, and once again, I've got another solution to a problem. So that one, it's inspection. Notice why I make it the little looky-loo guy up there? It's inspecting the equation. You're trying to somehow manipulate one equation or both equations to get opposite coefficients. That way, when you add them together, you eliminate one. Okay, next up here, we're going to take a look at this guy right here. That means this guy right here. And let's see, what do I see? I see 6 and 8. I could multiply the top equation by 6 and the bottom equation by 8, but then I would create huge numbers. So let's keep it small. Let's take the bottom equation and multiply it by negative 2. And the reason why, this is the whole start, is that I'm going to get, actually I'm going to multiply by positive 2. Sorry about that. That way I get minus 8x minus 10y equals 24 on top. And on the bottom, I'm getting 12x plus 10y equals 4. And you can see where we're going with that. We're eliminating the y's on this one. And by doing that, we're going to add these two equations together. 12 minus 8, or a negative 8 plus 12, would give me 4x. Minus 10y plus 10y, goodbye. Those cancel. And 24 plus 4 is 28. So 4 times 7 is 28. So we got x, 7. We got half of our solution. And then I can go back and I can substitute once again. Sub, Mr. Referee, I'd like a sub. Or I could do either equation. I think I'm going to use the bottom equation right there. I'm going to sub in x. So 6 times 7 is 42. Plus 5y equals 2. Okay, I'm going to subtract 42 from both sides, so I'm going to get 5y equals 2 minus 42, negative 40. So y equals negative 8. All right. So that is going to be what that one looks like. Okay, so you're seeing once again, it's all at the very beginning that kind of choices you make determine the path of least resistance here. And as the numbers get bigger, it gets a little tougher. It depends. I'm going to take a look at this guy right here, because he's kind of interesting. This one right here. Oh, it's a little messed up because the 4x and the 6x are in the wrong place. So I'm going to rewrite it real quick. And I'm just getting minus 16y. I'm going to line everything up. Minus 11y. And then that 22 plus 6x. I've got this minus 4x here. I got to add that to both sides of the equation to get it over there. So don't let that fool you. 15, you got to add that 4x. So everything kind of lines up. So I'm going to go plus 4x here. Okay, so that's my start. Now from there, boy, where do I go from there? I'm looking at 16 and 11. Well, I don't want to multiply anything by 16 or 11. I do see the 6x and the 4x, so I can actually multiply right here this first equation by 4. I can do 16 times 4, and you might need a calculator for this. It doesn't hurt to punch a few numbers here. I'm going to get 64y equals, and then I'm going to go 4 times 22. Well, 4 times 22, 88 equals 88 plus 6 times 4 is 24x. And then the bottom equation, I've got to multiply by something that gives me minus 24x. So that means the bottom equation I'm going to multiply by negative 6. So over on the left side, I've got right here minus 11 times negative 6 would give me 66y. 15 times 6 would give me 90, and that's negative. And then over here, negative 6 times 4 is minus 24x. So what I'm doing is eliminating the x's, basically. That was just how that worked out. It might not have been, there might have been an easier way, but that's the path I chose. So let's see, let me just double check all my signs for a moment. That 64 right there has to be negative. So I missed a sign there. I'm going to catch that real quick before I go any further. All right. And then I'm looking at 88, 90. Okay, everything looks good now. So 64y negative plus this, so that's going to give me a 2y if I add these things together. 88 minus 90 would give me minus 2. And then 24x minus 24x cancels out. So you see we kind of worked our way back down to quite a short equation. 2 times negative 1 equals negative 2. So we just solved that down relatively quick. It wasn't that bad. Now we can go back and we actually have to finish it by figuring out the other variable. So we've got y equals negative 1. So I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to say 6x plus 5y, and that's negative 1. So we're just subbing this back in for y equals 2. Okay, so 6x minus 5 equals 2. Okay, so 6x, let me once again check my signs here. 6x minus 5, 6, 7. Whoa, pausing the action. Got to use the right equation with the right equation. I almost forgot. I'm looking back into the middle equation there. So I'm going to fix that real quick. Minus 11 times y, which is negative 1, equals, minus 4x equals 15. Okay, there we go. So we got 11 minus 4x equals 15. All right, take away 11 from both sides. You get minus 4x equals 4. So divide by negative 4, and we've got ourselves x equals negative 1. All right, so we've got our solution. And I'm going to stop right there because I'm at 12 minutes, so we're going to come back to that at another time.